Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well and you're continuing to stay safe and healthy. I'm doing well as well and staying healthy and safe also. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good, just drowning a little bit in schoolwork, but you know what happens. So I'm hanging in there though. I'm doing the best I can, and I'm also doing ensembles and stuff too, so that's fun. They're preparing for concerts and also taking lessons, so that's all good and dandy. Um, what have I been doing lately? Just school. That's pretty much it. That and working as much as I can. My birthday's coming up in a few days, so I am really excited for that. I'm going to be 21, so that's going to be a really cool time, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, so what are romantic paintings, poetry, and music like? So I think the romantic paintings, poetry, and music are all really interesting to look at and listen to. Um, Definitely different than the aesthetics we've seen in the classical era. Of course, there are some similarities, but for the most part, as like we progress through time, there's stuff that is like drastically different too. As far as the paintings, as compared to the classical, I thought that they kept a lot of the same similarities, like being really people focused and oriented and seeing like what they're doing throughout their day to day lives. However, one thing that I noticed that was different were I found a few paintings and they really seem to emphasize more of like nature or I guess like naturist like environments and I guess like just the use of colors like more vibrant colors and I guess like the way they have it like shaped and formed was also something different and also something visually pleasing to the eye for what I thought. Um, but yeah, and then a lot of similar characteristics like with the people were kept the same, so that was all really cool. Um, Poetry, I thought the poetry for the most part took a more darker and somber tone. Um, like I said it in my assignment, but like those pieces of work, like they're interesting to read. However, I personally wouldn't listen to them on a day to day basis because I feel like they would put me in like a really sad state of mind, and especially in this time, I don't need that. I really don't want that. So they were interesting to read though, but I would not personally have them as like my favorite bits of poetry. The music. I think the music is really significant in the sense that now in this era, I guess pieces are like much more richer and maybe even like a bit darker in tone. Like we notice like with orchestra pieces, like yeah, they're still incorporating wind instruments, but I guess I don't know, there's just more power to them and I guess they started the incorporation of having certain wind group families being featured more and maybe possibly having like more soloistic moments and it doesn't all just rely with the strings like now the winds are having a chance to be put in the spotlight a bit, so that's what I thought about the music. Overall I enjoyed listening to it. It was definitely something a little bit different than the classical era, but also just really fun to dive in and listen to. I think I already said pretty much how they were kind of the same and different. You know, as far as poetry, I don't recall if there was any poetry for us to view in the classical era, but one aspect of poetry that I did notice was different was, I guess, as we've gone through the eras and centuries, the poetic message is easier to understand, and I guess the poet's message comes across a lot easier, and you're not just there scratching your head thinking, what is this poet even talking about? So that's one difference and aspect I took away from the poetry and seeing how it was different from previous eras. So yeah, what were some romantic works that stood out to me and why? So two paintings that stood out to me from the romantic era. It was one of them was by Rousseau, and it's the Tiger in a Tropical Storm, and just the use of having like a nature environment, as well as all like the different colors of like the leaves and the grass and all that, and the plants and the flowers, and then also seeing the tiger like kind of like there, like ready, I guess, like to pounce at another creature, which was really visually interesting to look at. Of course, another painting that caught my eye, it's a famous painting, like really, really famous, was a Van Gogh Starry Night. We've all seen that painting at some point in our lives. That again, just the use of the colors, and I guess the way like the brush strokes were, like it's really kind of curvy, and I don't know, it just looks overall really clean and smooth, and it blends together really nicely. So that was definitely a painting that caught my eye again. As far as any poetic works, this specific poetic work kind of stood out to me, not kind of in a good way, but it definitely stood out. It was the All Things Will Die by Alfred Lord Tennyson, and just the overall message of all things die, the wind will cease to blow, the stream will cease to flow. I don't know, talking about misery and stuff. Like, it didn't stand out to me in a positive aspect, but it definitely stood out to me, and it made me think like, oh, this is the kind of tone we're gonna take with this. Okay, I guess I'm on board. So that was that for poetic works. And then musical works, two pieces that stood out to me was Wagner's Overture to Tannhauser, and just I guess really feeling the impact of the whole orchestra and hearing how like rich and powerful some moments in the piece were with both the strings and the winds. That was just something I really liked hearing. It was really cool. And then the second piece that stood out to me was Chopin's Nocturne in E flat major, which common piano piece that you hear mainly associated with like kind of like a sadder kind of setting. You can depict like rain falling from like the clouds, like a really kind of gloomy day, maybe if you're not like in the best mood. And that kind of fits a line to me a little bit with like the poetry and how there's a little more of like a darker tone that's being brought to the surface. And as opposed to classical aesthetics, not everything is like happy and dandy. Like there is more stuff that is to be dug underneath the surface. And overall, that's just what I thought of the music, and that's what I thought stood out to me the most, were like those sort of aspects that I guess all those aesthetics share together. It was really, really interesting. Overall, I did like all of the stuff I encountered, all the different aesthetics. Maybe not the poetry as much, but definitely the music and some of the artwork. It was just something different that we didn't really see, or that we were used to with like previous eras. So definitely interesting to see and listen to. But yeah, that's my thoughts on everything. I'm excited to see you all's videos and see how you're doing and what you guys think about these romantic aesthetics. All right. See you later, you guys. Stay safe.